So you've probably seen Playing Told Japan videos galore already, but what if Japan decided to go full-on expansionist from day one of the campaign? We're gonna answer exactly that question by not only quickly modernizing, ousting the shogunate, but also expanding our reach throughout Asia and the world. Before we begin, guys, if you're planning to get Europa Universalis 5, consider using my link and I would forever appreciate it. Also, this link works for any game you want to get on Paradox websites, and you redeem that code on Steam so you can play the game afterwards on Steam. Seeing as we are going to be expansionist, we are going to also need better units, so we're going to go for mandatory service as our very first military technology and technology overall. Then after, we're going to queue up the regular things, romanticism, so we can go for agrarianism, stock exchange, as well as cotton gin, and all the way up to atmospheric engines and water tube boilers, so we can properly industrialize as well. The first few buildings will actually be similar to what we had before. We're going to do our iron mine in the capital, and we're going to follow that up with a tooling workshop so we can properly switch to iron frame buildings. But we're also going to queue up a military shipyard so we can start building up our massive fleets of expansion. And of course, we're going to need more construction sectors, so we're going to queue up an extra 5 construction sectors in Kanto before anything else. I'll click that. Get the decrees enacted too. We're only going to do road maintenance for now. We'll use this opportunity to pass National Guard because we've got a lot of endorsement for it. And now, very important, we're going to declare an interest in the England strategic region as well as in the Arabian Peninsula. Yeah, we're going to go into Arabia. That's right. The second that we've got the declared interest in England, we're going to attack them with the liberation of Cornwall primary demand. That will make them open up the Japanese markets. So before we even actually go to war, we can back down, which means we have free trade from literally the second month of the campaign. Hey, look at that. We also got consideration phase with the National Guard. That is actually huge. The opening of Japan lowers the political strength of the shogunate by 75%. It gives us an extra 30 legitimacy, and it increases modernization movement population attraction by 50%. So that means we now can sustain a government that doesn't necessarily include the shogunate, such as the Heimin government, the petite bourgeoisie. Considering we still need to pass National Guard, we're going to keep the current government still with the landowners. We're going to change them after we pass this legislation. And because we have free trade, we now also have access to the Trade Center, the greatest building ever invented. The Trade Center will allow us to import and export goods from the world market. So we're going to get 5 trade centers in our capital, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to focusing on importing the iron and the tools that we really need from the world market in order to build up our initial economy before we have our own domestic production of these goods. And we also will be bolstering the modernization movement, as well as will be suppressing the Shinto rights movement, as well as the absolutist movement, because we don't want these two movements to get any sort of traction. There you go, adoption phase. Please pass so I can start actually doing proper legislations. We also can remove the interest from the English lands now and add it up somewhere in Asia, because we are not going to be attacking any European nations for quite some time. And now, since we have trade centers, we can also go to our rural, and we can change to sawmill production method for the logging camp, as well as fishing trawlers. This will massively increase our demand for tools as well as for ships, but seeing as we have the trade centers in our capital, we actually can start importing these particular goods from the world market. I'm actually going to queue up my tooling workshop before the iron mines, as I can just import iron and I don't need it as much as tools right now. Another movement has appeared that we want to bolster, the peasant movement. This will help us push away from serfdom to homesteading or tenant farming, both of which are way preferred compared to serfdom. That again increases political strength for the shogunate. Finally, we also passed National Guard, so now we can make some actual changes in our government. Out with the shogunate and in with the Heimin. That means that we now have some support for homesteading as well as tenant farmers, quite a lot of support actually. And as you can see, our trade centers are working overtime to import and export whatever is required. So we're going to get an extra 5 trade centers. We need as many as we can get our hands on. And I'm going to make a deal with the devil, improve with the British, just so we get cordial relations, so they have less of an opportunity to attack us. They would have to lower the relations beforehand. So this this is just big brain. Now we also have a bit of a shortage of bureaucracy, so we're gonna spam a couple of government administration buildings again in our capital. Right now, every single one of our provinces has taxation capacity malices, so we're not taxing our people enough. It means we're losing 70,000 in unrealized taxes. But if we were to just spam the government administrations, you probably realize that we would end up paying more for the paper and for the buildings than we'd actually get out of the taxes. So the way to fix that is via legislation, getting rid of traditionalism that gives us a minus 25 taxation capacity, adopting appointed bureaucrats, which increases taxation capacity by 25%, and of course also technologies in the society tab, such as central archives that increases taxation capacity, identification documents, and every other one of the researches going down that particular tree. It's also time that we establish our first fleet. We can start recruiting frigates since we have the military shipyard. I'm gonna say do 15, 20 frigates. 20 frigates should be enough. That is more than a sizable army that we can use to start invading all of Asia. I also just realized that line infantry is not mandatory service. Guys, I swear I know how to play this game, okay? We're going to queue up line infantry after romanticism. Pretty much every single one of our provinces requires more government administrations. But right now we're just building enough to get 0 debuffs from bureaucracy, because 473 bureaucracy reduction also gives 36% tax waste. That is literally 36% of our entire economy we're not getting. So that translates to like 15,000 ducats that we're losing. We always want to be on 0 bureaucracy if possible. Hey, we got homesteading, and we also got a juicy deal with the Danes that allow us to build in their country. So that's right. Historically, it was the Japanese that built up Denmark. It wasn't the Danes. Come on. The big step, however, is going to be getting agrarianism, because traditionalism is literally killing our country off economically. And speaking of, we're also starting to take debt. If we take debt as a non-recognized major power or a great power, we take a lot of debt. I mean, interest is going to skyrocket. So we want to not take debt, which means we're going to have to use some of our authority to get some consumption taxes. So we're going to stop suppressing this particular movement, increase this temporarily, add an extra tax on tobacco, back to 0. And then what we can also do is we can privatize all of our buildings, which should give us a little bit of an infusion of money to make up for the debt that we're accruing. Also, we don't really need that big of an army right now, so we're going to keep it at 50 units of irregular soldiers. And I think I'm going to cancel a couple of my naval bases. Maybe even 10 should be enough when it comes to our initial fleet, because we're going to be attacking a lot of the smaller nations. We're going to make a secondary army here, and we're going to have 10 irregular infantry in that army with which we can do our initial naval invasions. We've also gone ahead and we've switched our production method to the iron frame production method in Kanto. So if we go to our market for a second here and we go to iron, right now a big chunk of our iron is imported from trade centers, 155 iron to be more precise, whilst we're only producing 91. And yes, we're only basically expanding our iron mines right now. We're going to queue up some more tooling workshops too, and that is literally all we're producing. Now, as you probably figured, we do need a lot more trade centers. We're only upgrading the 10 units we're using for naval invasions to line infantry, and we're going to use these bad boys to invade Borneo, which is our very first target. Should be a fairly easy war. We both outgun them as well as out-technology them, I guess you could say. Now, with the areas in Borneo, we're not going to immediately make subjects out of them. We're going to keep it as directly owned for the time being. One of the reasons is because we want to use this area as a platform from which we can invade the rest of the Indonesian archipelago. Second reason is because if we make them a subject, they're going to have our current legislation, which is absolutely atrocious. So we want to fix our laws before we actually make any subjects. For Kutai, we did have to get a naval invasion done because we actually cannot pass from West Borneo into East Borneo. This is literally impassable terrain. Might have also been a little bit too focused on expansion, and I overdid it with my construction and my economy queue. So I've scaled down on construction. We have a lot of debt now. We actually have 16,000 in interest. So until we become a recognized nation, which should take a while, right now we're getting +1 earning recognition every single month. And once that's done, it's no issue because we're going to be a major power, but it's not going to be instant. So we have to scale it down a little bit. Now next we're going to invade the southern tip of the Indo-Chinese Peninsula because we want to have a foothold in Malaysia from which we can attack via land the Siam and Dainam areas, both of which we want to grab a hold of before the British do. This is kind of a priority for us because these areas have not only a lot of population that we can use later in the campaign, but they also have a lot of good resources that we can use as we progress that we don't really have much of in our home island. And with Selangor, that is the last of the free Malaysian areas. We still have 3 provinces here, or 3 locations, which we cannot get a hold of because they belong to the East India Company, namely Georgetown, Singapore, and I forgot which one this one is. Yay, agrarianism! Finally, we can have an actual functioning economy, or at least start to have one. Now, with these 2 laws enacted, we're going to go for appointed bureaucrats. We're able to do this because we changed our government and we have the intelligentsia in charge now, which does support appointed bureaucrats and which again will increase our taxation capacity by 25%. The reason agrarianism is also really good is because it doubles down on reinvestment. So we went from an average of 20,000 to 63,000 reinvestment, alongside all the other bonuses, of course, that it offers. And we have a bit of a shortage of government administrations now. So unfortunately, that's the downside. We're going to out-queue a couple of these government administration buildings. And also we're now getting 2 monthly progress for recognition because we got rid of traditionalism. Next, we're going to try and get an embassy from the Russians. The embassy gives us an extra 1 monthly recognition progress, so we now have 3 monthly from 1 that we had a few months ago. I'm also going to be doing some random invasions into the Middle East just so I get a couple of footholds here. Bahrain especially is really important because it has a lot of oil later in the campaign, and from Bahrain we can attack Najd, Jabal Shamar, and everything else around here. Plus, because Bahrain has a little foothold in Persia, we get now permanent interest not only in Arabia, but in Persia too, for the price of 1 little naval invasion. Well, 2 naval invasion. And also, we seem to have started getting the honorable restoration. The requirements for this to start is that we need to have at least 50% legitimacy. We didn't have 50% until now, so now the honorable restoration can start ticking upwards. Ooh, I just saw something. There's some big wars happening right now. The Egyptians won the initial war against the Ottomans? Oh my god, dude. Ottomans are like super weak in this patch, in my opinion. I'm actually curious if you guys want me to do a video on the Ottomans, because I haven't yet done a video in this patch for the Ottomans, and it might be a little bit of a challenge. I won't lie. It really might be a bit of a challenge. Also, seeing as economically we're starting to recover, I queued up a few more construction sectors. It's about time we recover and expand economically if we want to continue doing all of these wars around the world. It does seem like the Ottomans are joining in against us in the conquest of Jabal Shamar, so I'm going to make them liberate Iraq. I'm only taking advantage of this because they are at war with a lot of other nations right now, so I'm confident we can win simply because they're not going to be focusing on us too much. And we can quickly grab the war goal in Iraq, but I don't expect to be able to push all the way to Constantinople, which is why I'm only doing Iraq as the only war goal right now. Also, we just got atmospheric engine pump, which is a massive deal. It means we can actually start properly industrializing now, and it also means we need a lot more coal, so we're going to spam a few coal mines in Kyushu. Hey, we also got appointed bureaucrats. That is huge. Okay, that actually gave us a lot of money, so we really can make a lot more construction sectors. In this, you probably guessed it, I'm spamming the shit out of consumption taxes. We have to right now. We're going to get rid of the consumption taxes later. Don't worry about it. All right, now we just need to chill here. We don't need to push into the rest of the Ottoman Empire. Eventually, their war score will drop below 0 and up to -100, so we can just enforce at that point. Oh, these little schnitzels, they actually tried to do a naval invasion in Kansai. Good thing I noticed, otherwise this could have been really bad for us. Oh, and the British would like to guarantee our independence. I'm okay with that, actually. I don't mind at all. And we're about to fully push out the Ottomans from our capital. Good thing we're about to enforce, because I think we're probably going to lose this front if we don't enforce any moment. All right, there we go. Liberation of Iraq, and we got the arrest of the Hayil state, which means if we really want to push for this, we could probably make Iraq a subject too. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Iraq because Iraq also has really good resources, not only later in the campaign, but we also get sulfur mines in the province of Mosul. So also start getting more construction sectors in Kansai because we maxed out the ones in our capital. Let's see how we're also doing with railways. We're going to need railways, so we're going to queue up mechanical tools and railways right after Water 2 boiler. I'm going to revamp my government, and I'm going to put the Hayman in charge, which again puts us over 50% legitimacy so we can continue to do the honorable restoration. The way this works is it basically pauses every time the legitimacy is below 50. Also, another cool way of getting infrastructure if you don't have railways is getting some ports, because ports also give a tiny bit of infrastructure. 3 if it's a cargo port, and if it's industrial port, we get 4 infrastructure per level. It's not much, but it's better than nothing sometimes, right? We would need 4 ports to make up for this though, so that's quite a lot of ports, especially since they cost 400 to construct, which means it's not really worth it right now. Next target is our very first area of South America to get colonized, Uruguay, historical colony of Japan. I'm just reproducing history, guys. Now we do have a lot of demand for trade centers in our country too, so we're gonna outclick because the trade centers build pretty quickly. It's only 100 construction. We're gonna outclick 1 trade center in every single state. That way we at least get some initial trade going with the world market and we can make some profit out of it. Those 4 little battalions in Uruguay are probably thinking right now, who is invading us? I'm sorry, Joe, what now? What is happening? The next target obviously is going to be Argentina, since we have a land border with them. Surprisingly, it's only 10 infamy to get Argentina as a puppet. Similarly, Chile is probably around the same, so I'm kind of hoping that Chile is going to help them out so we can get 2 for the price of 1. There you go. I freaking knew it. Chile does help. Chile always helps. So 20 infamy to get the tip of South America is literally nothing, okay? If we were to get Chile and Argentina as puppets around the 1870s, it would probably be around 30 to 40 infamy. So we're really trying to get this earlier when none of the great powers care about that area and it's significantly less infamy. Ooh, what's happening here? Dynam has a little bit of a revolution. Okay, that's okay, because I was kind of worried that the French might try to navally invade them. Look at that. They've got domineering attitude towards Dynam. So I think this is kind of scripted because I've seen this happen a lot. What happens is basically the French decide to invade Vietnam and make them a subject. Speaking of, the French got an alliance with the East India Company. Oh, okay. We might see India get liberated from the British hands. I might be able to take advantage of that. Oh, I really hope that happens. I've had that happen in my Australia video recently. I don't know if you guys watched it, but in this case, I actually can take advantage of it. In the Australia video, that was basically a debuff. All right, we're pushing in. Let's go ahead and navally invade Santiago so the Chileans don't know what's even happening. They're not even going to know what hit him. They're not gonna know what hit him. Oh yes, baby, water tube boiler. Let's go. Change all of our production methods to the better production methods, obviously. We got a couple of gold fields already from North Borneo. Ooh, maybe I need to continue expanding in Borneo then. I've been trying to lower my relations with these guys for some time now, but they're improving relations to prevent me from attacking them. And also we can do bulk trading, so we can trade significantly more goods with the world market. We also now can go for interventionalism, which is a little bit better than agrarianism. It was going to help us reinvest a tiny bit more, so we obviously want to go for this, and then eventually we want to push for laissez-faire when we have that as an option. I'm curious to see the great power ranking. So right now we're right behind the Americans, which have about 10 million more GDP than us. We're above the Prussians, and we are of course a major power because we have become recognized. We're not getting increase for honorable restoration though, which is a bit of an issue, and the reason for that is because we're not at peace. Oh no, we capitulated Argentina. This is bad because we were on the border with Chile. Now we have to do a naval invasion on Chile. Oof. Also, we can establish our very first company. We'll go for the Kansai Premium Metals because I would like to get the bonus for manufacturing industry, give them investment rights, trade rights, and we're going to give them steel mill production available industry too. I've gone ahead and I've also expelled the diplomats for Bulungan, which allows me to actually attack them now. As for the Chileans, they remain independent because I couldn't navally invade. It's pathetic, I know. But we're going to get back to Chile, don't worry. Chile's my Achilles heel apparently right now. Rest assured, we will return to Chile in force after we continue bashing on the Asian nations for a little bit longer. Persia seems to be a little bit occupied there. Maybe it's time we invade the Persians to humiliate them a little bit as well, because Persia's got a buttload of resources, and I mean an actual buttload of resources. This is one of the best areas in the game. It doesn't have a huge amount in one particular state, but like overall, if you add up all the states that they got iron, coal, lead, etc., and it ends up being a ton more than we actually have have in Japan. Plus, they're also really busy now with their invasions in Afghanistan, so we can take advantage of that and easily win some engagements against them. There you go. They actually just backed down. That is perfect. That is actually perfect. We don't even need to fight them. That means we can just improve relations with them, and more importantly, we prevented the British and the Russians from grabbing Persia, which is something they normally do around the 1860s, 70s. Now, we do have a lot of shortages, especially of tools, which we're fixing right now. Actually, even the private sector is building a lot of tooling workshops, and we also need paper and wood. So paper, of course, we're going to spam a little bit here in Tohoku and the main areas, although Chugoku is probably the one we want to have all the paper in, since we have a lot of sulfur mines in there. As for wood, well, basically 5 in each state right now. That's what we're going to queue up. We just want to max out wood. Like, eventually you know what, I'm going to do it now. There we go. We're going to max out the wood in all of our states. We're going to need a lot of wood throughout the campaign, and we're just never going to have enough wood. Also going to cancel interventionalism. Despite having so much support for this, it's not going to happen. It's just, I'm wasting my time with it. I'd rather have another legislation passed, such as public schools would be an absolute massive one for me right now. And in case you're wondering why the honorable restoration was not moving forward there for a while, it's because if we are at war, it doesn't progress. Now that we're at peace, it can progress. So because I also have 57 infamy, I will stay chill, not attack anyone for some time until that infamy goes down. And in that particular time, we should be able to complete the honorable restoration too. Also, it's time that I release Bahrain and feed them up all of the rest of the provinces in Arabia, because we've got slightly better legislations now. They shouldn't have 1.5 million rebellions throughout the campaign, because usually the main reason for the rebellions is just the fact that the subject has a lot of really horrible legislation. There we go. By giving them all of the areas that we took previously, we prevent a rebellion from happening. So that's double good. Now we're going to improve relations with them, and they are extremely loyal, and they're a puppet. Check out the legislation, identical copy of what we have right now. Now we've also reached the point where we realize we need some education. So I'm going to actually queue up a lot of universities. Right now I don't have much infrastructure in my state, so I'm going to queue up, say, about 2 in each state, and then about 5 in Chubu as well as Kanto. But eventually, once I get railways, I'm going to spam like 35 or 40 in Kanto alone, just so I get the innovation throughput, so we actually reach our innovation cap, which right now is 151. So yeah, we're going to need a lot of universities. That's also going to help us catch up with technology to everybody else in the world. I also know that I deleted some barracks before, but it's time that we get back some extra barracks. We're going to need a lot more units than what we currently have when we start expanding again. So that means when the infamy is lowered enough, we're going to continue with especially Southeast Asia that I was talking about earlier, and we're going to continue in South America, as well as start getting some footholds in Africa and unify the rest of Arabia that we can unify. So we're going to need at least 3 main armies to do that, and we're also going to need some more ships for that matter. So let's at least queue up 3 more ships for now. We're going to do a second fleet with another 20 frigates. Time to also build up our first sulfur mine. And speaking of sulfur, we can change to the sulfite pulping production method, our paper mills, and even steel tools, but we don't have any steel mills right now, so we're going to have to queue up alt-click 1 steel mill, actually 2 steel mills in Kanto for now. We've also gone ahead and we've created a brand new subject in the Indonesian parts. Meet Brunei, the world's cutest little subject, which also seems to be the only nation that has public schools now in the Indonesian archipelago, okay? I'm also going to change from their guild system to the right to associate. Maybe I need to do that myself, though, after dedicated police force. And also we can lower the autonomy of Argentina now, so they're going to be an actual puppet. I like the colors, honestly not the worst one. Also, I am going to give the Argentinians Uruguay, because I don't actually want to hold on to Uruguay myself. It's useless. Plus, it is Platinian culture, so it is the primary culture of the Argentine Confederation regardless. Oh my god, look at that. We're lowering their liberty desire by 0.48 because of economic dependence and clout. That is crazy. Let's go and get more construction sectors now, an extra 10 in Chubu. I'm not gonna lie, guys. The whole expansionist point of Japan, not bad. It's actually not bad at all. I like it a lot. I'm sorry, what? The Dutch East Indies just attacked Borneo. How do I put this nicely? You going fucked up now, AA Run. You actually fucked up now. And that is primarily because I've got the support of the British. Remember, they got a guarantee on me, which means that they're gonna help me out. So we're gonna do liberation of the Dutch East Indies as the main war goal, because that will basically trigger an event that will break apart the Dutch East Indies into multiple entities, which will make it easier for me to conquer these entities and feed them to either Borneo or whichever other subjects I might have. In fact, I'm thinking to just make 1 subject for each island and keep every island as separate nations under my control. Also going to make this a primary demand just in case they decide to back out of it. And I've added a few more provinces we can conquer from the island of Borneo so we can give afterwards to Brunei. We also will need some more conscripts for this war because it's not going to be an easy war. Hopefully the British arrive in time, though. It looks like they have already 31 battalions and growing. Hopefully they do a little bit of a naval invasion in the Dutchlands, though. I would love it if they did that. That would make the war a lot easier and faster to finish. All right, boys, let's go to war with the Europeans. The first European-Japanese war, by the way. So if we win this, we're going to be the first nation in history to have won over the vile European. All right, there we go. We already are starting to occupy the Bornean lands. As expected, the British are doing a naval invasion in Holland. In the meanwhile, we've also grabbed all three of the other war goals we had before enforced on the Dutch East Indies, and I believe that is the GGs for Brazil. Brazil just went like, yeah, bro, we're your best friend. We're gonna help you out. 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds later, they're like, nope, I am getting the hell out of this war. No, no, man, maybe you shouldn't be trusting Brazil that much. Sheesh, I would not want to be on the receiving end of the British Empire attacking anyone in this game, especially in this patch. The Great Britain is just ridiculously strong. It's also funny because we started this campaign by attacking them. Like, that's the first thing we actually did. All right, so let's check it out. The Dutch East Indies has completely collapsed. We got Siak now, Jambi, Java, and Tidor. These are the main individuals in the Indonesian archipelago. So we're going to be slowly but surely attacking all of them. Also, we have some provinces that we directly took from the Dutch East Indies. So we're going to give these out straight to Borneo. Then they're going to look significantly prettier. Look at that. Look at that. Brunei is almost the entirety of the island. We just need to grab the Sulu bits and Lanfang, which is still a subject of the Great Qing. Since we also have railways, we don't have any more infrastructure issues. So we're going to also queue up some more railways so we have at least one in every single state to do a future journal entry once we restore the empire. And now again, it's time to Chilium. We're not doing nothing. Hey, you know what? I did not start that war, okay? That was the Dutch aggressive scumbags that did it. So I'm not at fault. I'm not taking any blame for that war. Oh my god, we actually overtook the French. Wait, what happened to France? Why did they just lose half of their GDP? Oh, that's why, because they have a revolution. Never mind. All right, whatever. At least we overtook the Prussians and we're closing in on the Austrians. All right, we got that going for us. And hey, we also have some gold mines we can build on Hokkaido, so we got that also going for us. Our reinvestment pool is also up to 120,000, so we're definitely moving up in the world. We are officially the world's 8th great power, and GDP wise, we are about to catch up with the Austrians and the Americans, so we're doing pretty decent from that perspective as well. Just cannot hold myself together and I keep expanding left and right. I need to chill for a second so I can finish the honorable restoration. So I'm chilling as of now, okay? I'm chilling, I swear. That being said, we do require a lot more construction sectors, so let's get 15 more in Tohoku now. And I need more ammunition plants. I actually don't really have many at all. I'm gonna get a second one in Chugoku and one more in Kansai for now. And we've also recruited some more units, but again, it's not enough. We're gonna need some artillery pieces too. 20 artillery pieces queued up. I'll click so we can recruit this as soon as we can. I cannot shake the feeling that I will be getting attacked by someone at some point, and even if I don't get attacked by anyone, I want to be able to hold my own against any potential great power that might join on the opposite side of whatever diplomatic play we might start. Finally, after a very long time, we officially are an empire. We have the Komei Restoration. We will give a little bit of political power to the intelligentsia, which we really need to make use of, and we've also got the fall of the samurai since we have a modern army already. We've had it for a while now, actually, and also we've restored the empire around the time that historically it happened, so that's pretty funny. The samurai era is over. It's time for the machine gun to appear. Also, because we have the Meiji Restoration, we can colonize now Sakhalin, as we actually gain our own claim on Sakhalin alongside the Russians, which means that only us and the Russians are able to colonize this island. However, the Russians do not have any colonial affairs, so they're not going to be doing it anytime soon. We also can get claims on the peninsula of Korea, so we're going to get those claims because that's going to be one of our next targets. And seeing as we've restored the empire, we also have new companies available now, including Mitsui, a unique Japanese company with the Tomioka silk, prestige good, and 20% industrialist throughput, iron mine throughput plus 10% as well. This is one of the most powerful companies in the game, so we're going to make sure that they get all the charters that they need. We also can adopt State Shinto thus changing our religion to the Shinto religion, as well as the Shinto monks get different traits compared to the previous Buddhist monks, which include conversion increase as well as authority percentage increase. And would you look at that, we also managed to pass interventionalism, and we also have a much nicer map color. It's technically the Hoi 4 Japan map color, isn't it? We also need migration control. With the current legislation, if we get migration control, we should be able to get Qing to migrate to our country if we open up the borders of Qing, because again, they also have closed borders. So the next plan is to break up Qing, take Korea from them, and then whenever the breakaway nations don't have a truce with us, make those nations our puppets. The invasion in Qing is going to be a little bit delayed, however, because we only have 20 frigates. I've queued up an extra 30. 50 skirmishers invading into Qing should be enough to actually win the war, but right now we don't have enough ships. So until we build up those ships, we can do a cheeky invasion into Bolivia via the borders of the puppet of Argentina. And since we are here, we're going to be invading Paraguay to turn them into a little subject. Unfortunately, when it comes to Chile, we're going to need a bigger army because they do have some treaties with the Russians that are guaranteeing their independence. And I'm going to be making a puppet out of Iraq so I can connect the lands of my subject Bahrain with the lands of my subject Persia. And I believe they also back down. Of course, they did little Schnitzeldorfs. That's actually really good. So now we basically have half of the Middle East under our control, which means we're going to have the mid to late game oil that usually starves us out in most situations. Actually, we also need to attack Oman, which has a lot of oil now that I realized. I got 38 infamy. That means I have to relax a little bit. I need to chill. So now we're going to give Bahrain the 2 provinces here. 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Skibbity boo, skibbity bee bubba da bo. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Who would have thought out of all the Arabian nations, it's Bahrain that unifies them? Also, can we appreciate the fact that Oman literally owns everything except Oman now? That's how it should be. And we've officially not only surpassed the Americans, but the Russians as well. Whilst the French have actually doubled down, there's 76 million now, with the British, the Raj, and Qing being in the top 3 temporarily. Oh, and we got World War I for the conquest of Burma. The British want to make it a protectorate, and the literal rest of the world disagree with that. We got the French, the Qing, and Spain on the side of Burma, whilst the Americans are on the side of the British. That actually is a little bit surprising. They're allies. Ooh, oh, that's a match made in hell, isn't it? And we're able to now attack Qing directly. We're gonna grab the entirety of the Joseon Peninsula, plus we managed to get both the British and the Russians on our side with the cunning use of obligations. The Russians being on our side means we now have an actual border with Qing through which we can grind all of the Russian and British soldiers so they can do our bidding and we get to get the lands after. Look at the difference. Since we're helping now, it went from 20 to 65 advantage. Oh my god, we got really good units, don't we? And we also can do some naval invasions directly into the war goals. Since there's no one to oppose us right now, it's over. It's actually over, boys. We have won the war. We got ourselves the entirety of Joseon, which means we basically grew by 17 million population and 25 million GDP. All right, I like that. I like that a lot. Overall, I still think it's worth it because after this war, the next war against Qing is going to be a lot easier since we have an actual border. All right, so all the provinces we took, we're going to make full incorporated states. That means we need to switch to standardized filing cabinet. That puts us over the bureaucracy by 600. That is insane. We also need to update all of our production methods because Joseon did not have great production methods. They've got like the technology of potatoes. In fact, I take that back. I don't even think they have potatoes. Since I do need a lot of wood, I'm going to be building these logging camps in my subjects' lands, especially the Persians, which are the most disloyal out of all my subjects. Let's see what their situation is looking like now. I feel confident that we can make them loyal again once we drop below 50 infamy though. Now, I'm not really sure why the industrialists out of all nations would like proportional taxation, since that implies they get taxed a lot more, but I mean, I'm not gonna say no to it. We're also finally attacking Siam to make them a protectorate, and Java joined on their side, but we didn't add any war goals against Java because we really don't want to get too much infamy right now. Taking just East Borneo was like 8 infamy for some reason, and this is like 200,000 GDP and 100,000 pops. It makes no sense to me why it costs so much. It basically just doesn't make it worth it, so I'm just gonna puppet Java eventually once I get a couple of modifiers stacked to make it cheaper to puppet them. In the meanwhile, we're just gonna accept the pretty much white piece here with Java. Do they accept the white piece actually? They don't. Okay, let me do a naval invasion, then they're gonna accept the white beads. Hey, look at that, proportional taxation. That's actually pretty decent. Now, let's see what legislation we're gonna go for next, because we have a few that we really need to rush for. For example, right to associate is really important to us, but there's less chance of passing that compared to anti-strike laws. So maybe I'm gonna go for anti-strike laws first, and we push onwards afterwards for the next legislation. Also, this has actually been one of my favorite campaigns so far. I won't lie to you guys. Going wide and expansionist as Japan is not the worst idea. I mean, look at this. In just a few years, we managed to get 4th in the world by GDP, right above the French and the Americans, and we're still massively growing. We got our foothold everywhere too. We got lands in Indochina, we got lands in Indonesia, Arabia, Persia, South and Central South America. We're basically everywhere right now, and I'm all for it. I'm gonna finish this off here though, because I need to go have dinner actually. But if you guys enjoyed this, I hope you're gonna leave a like. If we get some say 6,000 likes, I'll do a second part for this campaign. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.